Hey everyone, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor contestants how to play the game while criticizing current, past players. Yeah.
And potentially future players.
Maybe even future players. Who knows? I'm one of your three side dishes of a co-host, Ryan Stacy, along with Derek Kubicek and Josh Wessler, and we are talking about episode 10 of season 50, A Side Dish of Chaos. Guys.
Spoilers.
As is the case with all season, let's not even talk about feelings. Go watch the episode, if for no other reason that if you don't, you will be confused as all crap.
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Guys, Mr. Beast was here tonight.
Yeah. And I liked it.
I don't know about you guys. I had a good time.
I liked it.
Take the floor, both of you.
I liked it. I know that Ryan is going to be less high on this whole thing. I think when I try and compare this with what's happened in the past, one, we love Rick Devens here on the podcast. So the fact that he was able to identify an opportunity where it's a 50-50 chance to stay with hardware as opposed to just a 1 in 6 shot in the dark, that's easy math no matter what. But I guess what's important here is that there was more of a choice involved, and it doesn't violate as much of a rule as voting for yourself did with Jimmy Fallon last week. So I really want to try and be consistent with the listeners here that, also, I'm entitled to my feelings. Sometimes it just feels a certain way. This one didn't feel as ridiculous. Now, that said, we do have to recognize the stakes here are essentially do or die with higher upside. It's do or die, except there's an actual benefit other than just getting to stay in the game. Because do or die was the worst thing that can happen or neutral. That sucks. At least this was essentially double idle, double the pot, go home. And he got to make the choice. What I don't love is that there was not an opportunity for all of them to just say, no, we don't want to do it. If you wanted to make this, I think, as good as it could have been, the ability for all 10 contestants to say, we abstain, we do not want to flip the beast coin, especially not for, it being the chaos injected for a $20 buy your loved ones letters. It feels like a weird way to juxtapose that, or I guess a way to shoehorn that into the game. I didn't love that, but that ended up not playing a role. So in that way, I think production was fortunate that they had Rick Devens on the season here, who is very much I'm flipping the dang coin. So because of that, this worked really well. It could have been disastrous, but once again, our players/player have bailed out production, and I loved it.
I enjoyed this just because it was fun. Is this wacky, and does a game of chance like a 50-50 flip of a coin belong in Survivor? Probably not. But I don't really care, just because of my enjoyment watching the episode tonight. If we're gonna take a step back and say, let's see this through a little bit further. Let's say we don't have a Rick Devens on this season, who, might I say, is just an absolute maniac, because he's just sitting on his stump at tribal council, cheesing, waiting for the opportunity. He knows immediately that he is going to be doing this as long as no one objects to it, which why would they? So, great on you, Rick Devens. But let's assume that Rick Devens isn't here. And I don't think we're going to bring this back, but let's just say we do in a future season. This is interesting, because do you put yourself up to risk to draw rocks to prevent someone from taking the flip of a coin and being safe at tribal and having someone else go home and then having an idol on top of that? There's a lot going on here other than the flip of a coin chance mechanic that doesn't feel right for Survivor. So the layers to this, I think there's a lot more layers to this than the just obvious first thought. So it is what it is. I think this is the best case scenario as far as Mr. Beast goes. I'm pretty sure we talked about potentially the prize pool doubling, or someone just going home for maybe to sacrifice themselves in the game. So we were pretty close, I want to say. But, now I'll turn it over to Ryan.
I just find it fascinating that you two guys are so high on this when you guys hated do or die so much. And there isn't that much of a difference to me, between the two. There's a few, but in like broad strokes, they're basically the same thing. But from a macro scale, they're virtually the same. So that's fascinating.
How much of a choice did Deshaun have? He didn't know. He was the first one to lose in a challenge and then found out that he was going to be doing do or die at Tribal. He did not know the stakes of do or die ahead of time. You can't do that.
No, he knew the stakes ahead of time. He didn't know the odds, but neither did these people. They didn't know it was going to be 50-50. He didn't know it was going to be a 33% chance.
Devin's volunteered.
So, I think you guys are being inconsistent.
I don't think it's inconsistent because there was way more agency on the side of the players.
No, I mean, okay, maybe that's debatable.
And I also did say if I could improve this, you take away the forced rock draw. Because I admitted that this could have been disastrous if it went that way. And so that's me trying to say, like, you need to give the players the choice. There wasn't a choice if someone didn't make the choice.
I think that's a big part of it. Like, let's say Devins doesn't volunteer and no one else volunteers. Instead of having a rock draw, just like, okay, it's not going to be a factor. We're not going to flip a coin. We're not going to potentially double the prize money. You know, someone isn't potentially going to be immune and have an idol.
Yeah, I was going to say,
and we just walk away.
In another universe, Suri draws the rock to flip the coin and goes home.
Yep. I think
that's a disaster.
What we're seeing is the reaction to a stupid twist that worked out immensely. I think that's what we're seeing here, and I think that's what you two are doing.
Like I said, because Devins is here, this works because somebody opted in. If you're going to do this, the better choice would have been to give them all the ability to say no.
Yeah, I know. I hear you.
Yeah, I know you hear me.
I'm saying you guys are reacting to this working out about as well as it could have.
Yes.
Let's go the opposite way. Suri goes home.
I can admit that. Yeah, I'll admit that. That's
admit
fine.
it. We can move on.
But that's. I will admit that, but with the caveat that I think that what Derek is saying, that, you know, it could be a little bit better. But for what we got, I had a blast.
And I did not have a blast.
Well, the other part that Ryan's discounting is like do or die is, for those of you who have ever like taken a motivational class, do or die is the ultimate hygiene factor, where it's either it's awful or it's neutral. Like, the best thing that could have happened to Deshaun is that he doesn't go home.
Yeah, he gets immunity, basically.
But in this case, Devins gets immunity, he gets an idol, prize pool doubles. There is a massive upside, so the risk reward feels better. Is in balance, I would say. And they had the ability to opt into it, and there was not a full opt out, and I wish they would have had the full opt out.
They had the choice to opt in or opt out for do or die as well by competing in the immunity challenge.
I don't think that's the same.
It's not exactly the same, but it's similar enough.
I don't.
They didn't
think
have
it's
enough
similar
information
enough.
at the time.
I agree with Josh.
And I think they had more information on do or die than they did for this one, because all they knew was something was going to happen, and then before we get to the vote, they finally learn. Whereas at do or die, they were told what was going to happen at the challenge. They knew it was going to be a game of chance. They didn't know what the odds were, but they were told at the challenge, like, hey, you can compete or not compete. You can opt out of the challenge. You don't have to be a part of this. If you compete, the first person out of the challenge has to compete in the do or die. They had more information on do or die than they did on the beast coin.
I don't remember this. I'd have to go back and check the tape.
All I know is I feel better about this.
Like, I believe you, but it still doesn't change my mind about this.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can like it. I'm not saying you guys can't like it. I'm just saying you're liking the best possible result. And so I don't ever want to do this again, because Suri goes home here. What does everyone say? Everyone is up in arms.
Oh, agreed. I do agree with Ryan's point that we don't do this again.
I just don't want us to react to just the best possible outcome, because that's basically what happened virtually. And, if we're going to improve it, which, improve it by not doing it again. Improve it by giving them the opt-out.
Yes.
I don't think production wants anyone to ever be able to opt out of anything. So let's just never do this again. Ever.
Yeah, and Ryan, and what I do agree with Ryan, is when production is given an inch, in the last 10 seasons or so, they have been wont to take a mile. And we can't be telling them over and over again that we want Survivor to turn more and more into a game of chance packaged as a game of choices.
I don't want to turn Survivor into Beast Games.
We want more choices. And that's where I wish that, again, they would have had an opt-out here. But that said, I loved what happened from an entertainment standpoint for my winner pick, for Rick Devins for coming onto our podcast, friend of the podcast, Rick Devins. Thank you for volunteering and being our little agent of chaos, not a side dish of chaos. He is the main
he's the main
entree
course of chaos.
Yes.
So yeah, no, I didn't like this. I didn't enjoy it. I'm pleased with the results because I think, obviously it seems like Devins would have been the one going home tonight. So it worked out. It's something I did not like that worked out is my final answer. Let's never do this again. I didn't really enjoy the episode. I'm relieved it went the way it did.
All right.
I enjoyed parts of the episode. If we're just looking at the episode in general, I enjoyed parts of it. It was very confusing because we went in not knowing that it was a 2-hour episode. I was very confused about, a ton of time at reward and immunity, and there's going to be no time for a scramble, and no surprise 2-hour episode. So it was just a weirdly planned one.
I think what part of the problem is I really don't like Mr. Beast. He gives me the ick. He gives me bad vibes. I don't like him, so that probably doesn't help. I don't know if you guys watch his videos or how you feel about him, but I don't watch his videos. But what I've seen from him, I do not like.
I don't know enough about him. He's like, I know there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people like to talk about with him, but just on the surface, he seems like a genuine dude. But I know there's a ton of layers to that, so I don't think I can speak on it.
There's something in those eyes, man. I don't like it.
I don't know him personally, but I do know that I enjoy what he tries to do with his videos. He does like to stretch human experiments for, what are you willing to do for money? And it's not, like, oh, I'm going to cut off your limb or you're going to endure this horrible physical torture or anything like that. Like, you can opt out of these things literally at any time, but how far are you willing to stretch yourself? He does so many videos where he's like, you live alone in this box for 100 days and I'll give you $1 million. And then he comes in after 50 days and he turns off your lights or something. Like, that is the kind of stuff that he does. It's really interesting. And again, you can opt out at any time. It's just you don't win the money. You can pay $100,000 and get your lights turned back on, if you decide that in order to get you through it, you need it. So I like a lot of the stuff that I've seen that he does. Some of it doesn't hit, some of it does, but he's putting out a video a month like this. And it's like, okay, when you're doing that much, some of it's going to work, some of it's not, but I'm impressed with what he's been able to do with his content. And that's just saying I don't want him in Survivor again, because Survivor is supposed to be over here, away from the internet a little bit. The irony of me, us putting a podcast on the internet, but Survivor's supposed to be a little separate from that. It's this pure thing that's been around, and that's where I say I don't want to do this again. I wish we could go back to something closer to old era, but if we're going to be doing new era stuff, and I'm going to enjoy it for what it is, I enjoyed this. But yeah, I'm okay with Mr. Beast.
I appreciate the fact that he at least recognized what Survivor was. It's like, no. Like, Survivor is bigger than me. Like, I'm here for Survivor. It's not, I am not, an amazing thing that's happening to Survivor. So I was glad that he was at least appreciative of that. And as far as his videos go, yeah, at least he puts a lot of thought and production into it. And it seems like actual good quality content and not just short little pieces of garbage, which is way too much of the internet nowadays. So I can at least appreciate that as well.
Yeah, Jeff, what do you mean this little show? Mr. B stopping by this little show. Don't downplay Survivor, Jeff. How dare you?
That was the worst part.
Honestly, it was.
Should we get into the episode proper?
Finally.
All right. So we're going to get back from the last Tribal Council. Emily's got some damage control to do. We don't hear all of it, but she and Ozzy do hug, and they end up voting together. So it seemed like it kind of worked.
Okay enough. I think she did what you would expect someone to do in her position, which is all we can hope for. And Emily's had questionable gameplay so far this season, so we like to see some good things.
Yeah, and I won't look too much into it just because it was a unanimous vote at the end.
Devins is going to come clean and tell everyone his idol was fake and he planted it. Basically, he needs to clear this off the slate and then continue his game fresh. I get it. This was only going to get you so far. He got him through 2 votes. So now you got to move on. You can't keep... It isn't a case like with Rizzo because it's not a real idol. So there is no power. So, I get it.
And this is almost exactly what... I don't know if all of us were agreeing on this last week, but I know I definitely brought it up myself, that we don't know how people would reward, the will he, won't he idol play for a season like Survivor 50. Is that going to be something that is, in their eyes, worthy of a winner? of Survivor 50. Personally, I don't think so. And I'm not saying that that's his only reason of why he did this, but I think that this was the perfect time for him to come clean, say it's fake. Maybe some people are still a little concerned that it's actually real for some reason. But I think that this was the perfect time to, reveal this information for Devins.
Let's go one step further. I said that Devins was going home because Emily was going to throw him under the bus as the only person left who knew that it was fake because he told her. He told everyone before she had a chance to use it against him. He removed Emily's fangs because she would have thrown him under the bus. I know for all the, I can't imagine life back at camp without you that we got today. Emily would have cut him.
Yep.
And it seems like they were on the bottom, and so she would have used it as ammunition. That makes this a necessary move, and therefore a good move, and dare I say, like, the only move.
Okay, yeah. Well put. Well put. We're going to get to the Survivor auction. We can yada through most of it because it's like all food. Mr. Beast is going to show up at the end after everyone is basically tricked into getting him into the game. They're told to buy, hey, you can all buy this thing. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be both. $20 each. And they all agree. It's the family love letters. And this triggers the Mr. Beast dire beware advantage.
It doesn't trigger Jack. I know darn well if they wouldn't have bought this, he'd have said, oh, and there's one more thing. Probably. Jimmy, come on in.
It's like one of those choose your adventure novels where both choices take you to the same page. Like, hey, do this thing or don't do this thing. If you do this thing, turn to page 74, and then you keep going. You don't want to do this thing? Okay, turn to page 80. What the heck are you doing? We're going to page 74. Get the heck back there. That's exactly what this was.
That's so weird because I was literally watching a movie Sunday, like earlier this week, where this dude in a house had these people trapped, and I think it was like Heretic or something.
Oh yeah, Heretic. Yep.
And it's like, oh, like I want, I'm gonna really push your buttons on, your religious beliefs, and it's like I have two doors, you have to pick one, and it's gonna help you get out of this house, and it was belief and disbelief. And essentially, it didn't matter which door they picked. Both of them were going down into a big spooky basement where they were going to be trapped.
Yeah. Mild spoilers for Heretic.
Sorry.
That first door, it's been out a little bit now, so skip forward 15 seconds. That first choice, it led to the same room. There was no actual choice.
I've been told I need to watch this movie. I already knew the spoilers, so Josh, you're fine.
Derek, watch Heretic.
Honestly, I didn't know that it was a known movie. It just seemed kind of random. So, sorry.
No, it was a big deal because Hugh Grant played a villain, a horror movie villain. That's wild.
And Josh, fun fact for you, without the movie, and for the listeners, without Paddington 2, Heretic would have never happened.
Yep, Paddington 2 leads directly to Heretic.
Because Hugh Grant hated acting, and he was done with it. He was done with the roles, and then he did Paddington 2, and he said that he fell in love with the craft again, and that he would branch out and do more projects.
Yeah, he started doing character bits instead of just romantic comedies where he's the hot lead. So he did Wonka, where he plays the Oompa Loompas, and then Heretic, where he's a horror movie villain.
Sure.
So thank you, Paddington 2, for giving us Heretic.
Thank you, Paddington 2, for giving us Heretic.
Honestly, just thank you, Paddington 2.
Thank you, Paddington 2. Have you seen Paddington 2, Josh?
No.
Dude.
You gotta see Paddington 2.
Paddington and Paddington 2 and Paddington Goes to Peru are all solid movies, but the first two are incredible. You need to watch them.
Is like a 10 out of 10 movie. Makes you want to be a better man. You gotta watch the Paddington movies, man. You're missing out. Everybody, hear me on this. I know you're like, oh, it's just a dumb kids movie about a bear. No, you have no idea. Watch the Paddington movies. I was skeptical too. Best decision I've ever made is watching the Paddington movies.
So random plug for the Paddington movies, I suppose, but I mean,
will plug the Paddington movies anytime I can.
It's better than the forced plugs from celebrities that we've had. I would much rather plug the celebrity that is Paddington Bear.
They bring Paddington Bear to Survivor and give them all marmalade sandwiches.
Everyone gets marmalade sandwich. Whoever plays Paddington Bear comes out, gives everyone marmalade sandwiches as a reward.
That's it.
I'm here for it.
And they get to watch the movie, Jack and Jill style.
We have
Paddington 4.
Yeah, Paddington 4. Paddington comes to the island, delivers marmalade sandwiches, and the winner of the reward gets to watch Paddington 4. Boom. You're welcome, Probst.
With
for
Frank
maybe
Garrison.
The first time they don't have to lie about actually enjoying the movie.
Have they ever watched a good movie? I think they watched Out of Africa in season 3, which I haven't seen, and I know not everyone likes that movie, but it was at least nominated for Best Picture, so there's that. I know it might have won, and I think it's considered one of the weaker wins, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, But Mr. B shows up. He's got his dire beware advantage. It's like a beware advantage, but dire.
But dire.
But they won't know what it is until tribal council, and that I don't like. Just tell them what it is. Just tell them what it is.
Yeah.
No, not. I mean, well, like yes, most of the time, but with what this dire advantage is, I don't think you could. I think you have to reveal it at tribal. If it's not flip a coin and have all these different things happen, sure.
Well, then what you do is you do the dire beware advantage at the auction. Don't do it at tribal. Then they have a chance to go back and plan around the fact that someone won or someone lost, or maybe you just end the episode there.
Or, what you could do, like we do with the do or die, is they know that the do or die challenge is going to happen. We might have a vote. We might not have a vote.
Yeah, sure.
So that part from do or die worked, and just bring that over into this, and that would make this better. We're going to go to the immunity challenge. Tiffany's going to win, so she's off the table. And at this point, we have very little time left in the episode, so we thought we have a segment where everyone reads their letters from home. We have one strategy segment, and then we're going to go to tribal council. So we are just rapid firing through this episode,
and it's just chaos.
It's pure chaos. It starts off easy enough. Devins is an easy vote, but Aubrey, Jonathan, and Stephanie are going to talk, and they're like, Devins is a good shield. Maybe this is the time to take out Ozzy. They're eventually going to be like, well, okay, Ozzy's on to us, and we're going to get a little confrontation between Suri and Stephanie. But they're like, okay, we can move up. We can shift this to Rizzo or Suri. We can get any of those three out. Yes, you can, and that would have been the move. I think this was a huge missed opportunity from a lot of players to knock out somebody from a Suri's Wizard of Oz alliance, or at least get an idol out of here. The fact that these three have made it to the final 9, and they still have 2 idols and an extra vote.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts.
Yeah, there's 2 big, groups that are tight here, and then some stragglers. It really seems like you have the Cerise Rizzo Vaz, which what a weird name, but I love it. They're tight, but I don't know how much people know how tight they are. So I think that's a big asterisk here with your thought process, Ryan. Whereas you have Joe, Jonathan, and Stephanie who are tight, and everyone knows that they're tight. Mm-hmm. So you have these 2 groups of 3, and me personally, yeah, one group of 3 is more threatening than the other if you're just talking about individual threats in the game. But if I'm from the outside looking in, I almost think that the Stephanie, Jonathan, and Joe grouping might be more threatening because they're never gonna break up. And then you can talk in near certainty about that. Whereas that other group of 3, I don't know if you can. So I think it depends on how you want to approach that, and if you are more concerned about that group of 3 all voting together versus the other one.
I think what a good strategy for people in the middle. Get the like it's what I always talk about. It's the enemy of the state strategy. Get these 2 groups aiming their guns at each other, and when they fire, one of them will get taken out. Maybe Ozzy goes home with an Nautilus pocket. Maybe Ozzy plays it. Maybe Rizzo plays it, and they knock out Stephanie. That's what I call a win-win. So I kind of wanted the people in the middle to be more setting up the 2 sides against each other. That's what I want to see.
I didn't have a chance because Ryan said it. We had almost no time to contemplate the strategy prior to Tribal here. And a lot of this is going to get thrown, at least partially, out the window, just totally defenestrated, right? Why did we need to bring Joe into the Aussie vote? It felt like they had enough because a lot of those other people were thinking about splitting the vote anyway. On like Emily and Devin. So if you would have even had like one person vote on Emily, the other 4 on Devin's, and the 5 they had without Joe was enough to take out Ozzy. But they said it like, we need Joe. And I'm like, but that's 6. Why? Like, why? Why do we need to?
I feel like that's a Stephanie and Jonathan thing. Like he's with them. They want him with them. And if you burn him once, he won't work with you again.
Yeah, it was essentially Jonathan and Devins were talking to each other, and Jonathan's like, okay, I'll go talk to Joe, you talk to Emily, and then there's your grouping that's going to be able to take out Ozzy.
But, so this turns into just absolute chaos with, like, literally every name gets thrown. Even Tiffany's name gets thrown up by accident. Jonathan's like, oh, I meant Stephanie. But I thought that was funny. So let's skip all that because it doesn't matter. We're going to go to Tribal Council. This is where it matters. Stephanie is going to suggest, hey, there was a simple plan before all this chaos. And Devin's like, yeah, I'm the simple plan. I'm the band Simple Plan. I'm just a kid in life is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Fair.
And he's like, that means me. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to blow up everyone's spot, mainly Stephanie and Jonathan. And he's going to just reveal everything that Stephanie and Jonathan had done throughout the day and everyone they had schemed against. And it's the fact that Stephanie has a vote steal. And Stephanie's trying to defend herself, and she's so bad at it. It's hilarious.
At one point, she says, I would never throw out a name, which, she clarifies what she meant later on, but that's just a terrible thing to say because either, one, you're not a good Survivor player, or two, no one is going to believe that that's true.
Yeah, like, why wouldn't you throw out a name? Why not?
Well, and the other part is, if you're Stephanie, you could say, there are idols that might be fake, idols that might be real. Everyone has their shot in the dark. We're all having conversations. Everyone knows where my votes have gone. That's all you need to say. If you start over-explaining yourself, that's guilt, even if it's partially true. I do believe that Jonathan is the mastermind here, but like, has Stephanie ever understood like guilty by association? And it's also one of those things where like the first person to go in and steal a cookie out of the cookie jar might get away with it, and then the second person sees the first person, sticks their hand in the cookie jar, mom walks in, well, I only did it because evidence is already gone. Sorry, you stuck your hand in there too.
Yeah, the cookie's been eaten.
Cookie's been eaten.
Speaking of cookies, Mr. Beast sells cookies, doesn't he? Beast cookies.
Chocolate bars.
Chocolate bars. Mr. Beast is going to show up, and we're going to get the dire beware advantage. It's the Beast coin. You flip a coin. If you win, you're safe. You get immunity for the night. You get an idol, and the prize money becomes $2 million. If you lose, there's no vote. You're out. You're done. Prize stays the same. Someone can volunteer. If no one volunteers, we're going to draw rocks to decide. And I think Devins takes everyone by surprise, and he volunteers because I'm kind of seeing him now as like a riverboat gambler. I recently just rewatched The Mummy, the Brendan Fraser one, and I'm thinking of the American guys, the other group of treasure hunters who are gambling on the riverboat on the way out to Hymenoptera. And that's kind of what it reminds me of. I can see Rick Devens hanging out with these guys. Hopefully he doesn't get cursed by the mummy. And just riverboat gambling. And I think I know why people are getting mad at him is because he's going to call your bluff. Devens is going to call your bluff, and I think that irritates people. So he's a bluff caller. So he's just this high-stakes riverboat gambler who ain't afraid to get in a shootout once bluffs have been called. So that's kind of what I'm picturing in my head now is Devens as a riverboat gambler.
Well, and the scary part of that is at this point, he has nothing to lose.
It feels like he knows he's going home.
The most dangerous part of a gambler is when they have nothing to lose, because they will just keep going until they hit bankrupt. And Devens is willing to go all the way here. And that should be terrifying to anyone who might be caught in it, the crosshairs or, just like the deflection of the bullet if he does end up, landing on heads.
I love the way you called him the riverboat gambler. I would have never thought of this comparison, but I also love Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. You're 100% right. The reason that I think that people were upset with Devens pulling out the fake idol at Tribal is the fact that they went with a plan and he genuinely caused a live Tribal where there was something set in stone. Now, whether or not it was set in stone on him or if it was actually Coach and whoever else at
Chrissy.
that point, Chrissy at that point, is irrelevant. People didn't like the unknown in that moment because there's already so much unknown in Survivor. If you're creating more of it, that's a problem. So I don't think they don't like Devens. I just don't think that in these moments, like, he creates all this discomfort. Meanwhile, that's where he lives. It's where he thrives. It's one of his mantras. He was certainly talking to us about it when he came on our podcast. He regaled it on this episode when he's reading his loved one's letter from his wife. And just saying, like, try to wipe this smile off my face. He's a man who knows dang well he's playing with house money. So to Josh's point, like, you can't go bankrupt if they keep giving you chips.
This feels like very much a news broadcasting thing. This is the field I work in, and most of the news people I know thrive in chaos. So I that's definitely an advantage for Devens because you get breaking news, stuff goes nuts. That's where most news people like to be. It's like this is where it gets fun. This is where the fun begins. So that's kind of how I see it. So he's like a news broadcaster, riverboat gambler.
Like, this is where life happens. Life happens in these moments.
Yeah. But there's like, do we really want him to do this? And nobody else is going to put their neck on the line. So yeah, if Devens truly knows that, like, I'm done, they're coming for me, then yeah, this is the right move. If not, if he doesn't know, if it's definitely a little more murky, I think I would be in the camp of I'm going to make somebody draw for this because that's a 50-50 shot of we not having to vote tonight, and I don't go home that way. So it depends on, it really just depends on your perception of your position. Don't volunteer if you're not in danger. If you are screwed, volunteer. It's just like the do or die.
Yeah, and I think that Devins puts it perfectly. A 50-50 shot is so much better than a 1 in 6 shot. So if you are feeling like you would be in a place to play your shot in the dark, then you should be volunteering for this. There's no reason not to. Anything outside of that, no, let someone else do it. Because then that other person, it has a 50-50 shot of going home. And there's no vote tonight.
I'll say slight disagree because of the upside of giving everyone the chance to win $2 million.
Irrelevant.
I don't think it is irrelevant because I think there are a few people in this game who need to do something drastic to change their fortunes. I think if somebody like Joe does this, maybe there's a chance he does win more votes at the end from the people who aren't in the Zoom alliance with him. Because right now his only hope is that the Zoom alliance would all get put on the jury and would all vote for him, and then like 2 other people would also vote for him. Joe's losing this game unless he does something big. I'm not saying he should go for this. I'm saying he needs to consider it. Everyone who is at this point in the game not in line as a potential winner needs to consider it. And everyone who's in danger. And I would even go so far as to say, like, okay, if Devins is in immediate danger tonight and Emily is in danger for next time, Emily should also consider it. But because things can change in Survivor so quickly, Emily should probably not do it. I'm just saying.
There are better moves to make if you're in a place where you're not winning. There's better than this. No, like people will be like, oh, thank you. And then that's it. They're going to move on immediately. No one owes you anything in Survivor. No one's going to be appreciative that you got $2 million for them. I don't think anyone's going to vote for you because you did that.
I was with you until you said that nobody's appreciative that you gave them a chance to win $2 million. No. Every one of them is appreciative of the fact, like if you flip it and you get it, they are all appreciative of the fact that you did that.
They're appreciative to the point, be like, hey, thanks. And then we're done.
Yeah, I didn't say that they were going to be like grateful. I didn't say that they were going to keep you around long enough for you to be able to win. It paints a target on your back, but that might be a good thing if you're going to lose the game.
To Derek's credit, I think the only other person that this would make sense to, volunteer for is Joe. I think he's the only person just because, honestly, not because of the $2 million. I think that has nothing to do with it. I think it's more showing that you have something, showing that you're willing to take a shot. You're going to be immune. I don't think he's, at risk of going home, but you're going to be immune and you're going to get an idol, and then that at least opens up the door of, okay, cool. What can you do with that idol for future votes? And it adds more possibilities for, adding to your resume in the future. So other than Joe, I don't see any reason for anyone else.
Stephanie should consider it too. If she's the alternative, which clearly she was, she also needs to be considering this.
Sure. So everyone backs down. Devins does the coin flip. He survives. So Devins walks away with immunity and an idol.
That's one way to get an idol. Devins.
Yep. His first real idol of the season.
And the first idol ever actually given out at Tribal Council.
This triggers a live tribal because everyone is scrambling to figure it out. We're going to hear the names of Aubrey, Stephanie, and Emily, but it doesn't feel like this. Like this was definitely live, but it definitely is. It felt more like, okay, we got this figured out more quickly than I think the show tried to make it seem like, because it ends up being, so Stephanie steals Devin's vote, but beyond that it ends up being 8 votes for Stephanie, 2 votes for Aubrey, both of them from Stephanie. So unanimous vote against Stephanie, which I think is kind of a waste. I really think they should have gone after like Cherie or Rizzo or Ozzy here. Taking out Stephanie feels like a waste.
I agree that, Stephanie was in my bottom 2. Like it was Joe, Emily, and then Stephanie. So why would you take out somebody down there when you have some ammunition to try and take out somebody at the top? But maybe it's because those people who are at the top right now are in more control of their alliance than we thought. I mean, we had talked earlier about, Stephanie and Joe and Jonathan are not flipping on each other. Rizzo isn't going to want to bring Cherie all the way to the end. I trust that Rizzo is smart enough to know that he can't do that. So maybe there is a shot. to do that. I think this is a waste. I don't know what to say the right move is, because I think that it was going to be Devins, and at least there was some consensus on Stephanie to get everyone past this production interference, which is kind of a, I don't know, it's this alien signal that's put into the game. It's like, all right, can we just turn off all this noise and then get back to the game, please? They can hopefully do that next week. We'll see. And so in that regard, I don't mind a unanimous vote, but I think there was something better here, Ryan. I agree. A lot of words to say that, but
I think you're so close, Derek. You're so close to seeing it.
Okay.
Because I don't think the right person went home tonight, but I think you're in the right alliance here. I think that Jonathan should have been the one to go home because he's more of a threat than Stephanie. But I think that you do need to break up that 3. And the reason why I say that you're so close is because you just mentioned that Rizzo doesn't want to bring Suri to the end. That is so obvious. Why would you? So you could use that in a future vote to knock that person out. I don't think that 3 would ever go to the end together. A 3 that would get really close to the end together is Stephanie, Jonathan, and Joe. So take this opportunity to knock out the biggest threat of the tightest 3, that being Jonathan. And then you can turn around and take out any of those other ones after this, and it should be pretty easy to convince people to do that. So I think it should have been Jonathan tonight.
I'm not convinced Rizzo wants to take Suri out. I think Rizzo could be arrogant enough to think he can win. I am not convinced that he is going to flip on Suri at all. I've seen no evidence to suggest that he will. It's common sense. That's the best we got, but it might not be there. And I think Rizzo thinks he would have won 49 without the fire making challenge. Does he think he can do the same thing again? He thinks he's got this. Maybe thinks he has this great speech he can give at Final Trouble Council that'll win him the game. He didn't get to do it last time, and he thinks it'll be enough this time. So I think there's definitely room for that level of arrogance. We'll see. What did social media think? Who did they agree with?
Social media is very opinionated on this one.
I bet.
There were enough votes for this to be significantly lopsided, at about 95% saying yes.
That the right person went home?
Yeah.
it figures.
Yeah, social media hates Stephanie. Not shocking.
Not shocked at all.
95 is high, though. I'm a little surprised how high it is, but wow. Okay. Well, should we get into best and worst player of the episode?
Yes.
For best player, I am going to give it to Rick Devins. He blew up Jonathan and Stephanie's spot, which seems like it contributed to Stephanie going home. And it seems like he saved himself by playing the Beast coin. It worked out. He got himself an idol. $2 million is in the game now, so I am going to give it to Devins.
I gave it to Devins too, and I wanted to add a little annotation. He turned to Suri and Rizzo and all them and said, I'm flipping the coin here. I might be going home, but I want you to know that I'm still telling the truth. I feel like those are the words that are most believable, like ever spoken in Survivor history, of someone who's like, I might be dead. I've got no reason to like deceive you right now because I'm going to go flip a coin for my life in the game. That's the kind of thing that might actually pay dividends, not just now, but in a future episode. Now, yes, Devins has a huge target on his back and they would be dumb to ignore him, but those are honest words. So I also gave it to Devins.
Yeah, it's absolutely Devins. Ryan, I don't remember if you mentioned it, but also I think that he perfectly timed the reveal of his fake idol at the beginning to, I'm not saying that it was going to move the target off of him. As we saw tonight, he definitely could have been the one going home, but at least that information is out there and at least he can play a little bit more openly, I would even say. So good on him for that.
Yeah. Worst player, Derek, who do you get?
I've got Jonathan. I think his number one in Stephanie went home. And however you slice it, I think there's, even if Ozzy says that he trusts that Jonathan didn't come up with the plan, there's doubt. And he doesn't really have a ton of ammunition left. Now, it's nice that I guess he's only in an alliance of 2 now, really, with Joe. So that he might be able to come back and make something happen. But I think he's been pretty sufficiently defanged at this point. We'll see what happens with Jonathan, but it was not a good episode for him.
Yeah, I would agree. And he's the one that really kicked off the chaos. Now, I think we would have had chaos anyways, but he is the one who brought up Ozzy as being a vote when technically you didn't have to do that. It could have just been, a split between Devins and Emily or, whatever. But, his closest ally went home. And now he has only one person that really seems to be close with him. So good luck on that moving forward.
You know, I don't mind that he targeted Ozzy. I think that was a smart move on his part. It just didn't work out. But I do have it as Jonathan lost an ally. And he got real snippy with Emily at Tribal Council. Saying she was like super full of bleep. So I don't like that from Jonathan. That's the kind of thing people will remember and not appreciate.
Yeah, those outbursts. That's a good point. I had forgotten about that, but you're absolutely right.
You know, which tracks because he did the exact same thing to Devins earlier in the season.
Yeah, he's hangry.
Yes.
Even after the auction.
Yeah, even after the auction.
I guess he ate the sea slug.
Ugh. All right, let's get into who is going next, which I think might be kind of tough to figure out. But, good luck, Josh.
You know, we're gonna go off the board a little bit here. He just got an idol. He's at peak confidence. I think they're going to blindside Devins. I think Devins is going to go home with an idol in his pocket here. No idea what the vote breakdown is going to be or who the backup vote would be. But I could see, this roller coaster ride that he's on just coming to a halt here.
See, I'm going to go with Emily. I think she's going to do something stupid and blow up her spot again. And everyone's going to be like, you know what? No, we're done, and vote Emily.
I've got Emily, but it's to weaken Devins. I have Devins maybe playing his idol, maybe not playing his idol. I don't know. But I think they're going to want to weaken him. And so they're going to target Emily as the primary, and she's going to go home.
They could do a vote split between them two. There are enough
that's
people.
kind of what I was thinking they would do.
I wouldn't be surprised if they split it and then Devins doesn't play his idol.
All right, let's get into the rank downs, dank downs, jank downs, and lank downs. Let's hear some listener lank downs.
All right, our listener lank downs from this last week, much like us on this podcast, listeners had a lot of movement in theirs. They actually had, it was still unanimous. Sari was still number 1, but they had Ozzy moving all the way up to spot number 2, and followed by Rizzo, then Devins, then Jonathan in spot number 5. He rocketed up in the listener lank downs, followed by Aubrey, then Tiffany, then Stephanie, then Emily plummeting all the way down into can't win territory, just ahead of Joe.
Okay. Interesting. And now with Stephanie out, they'll have to pick somebody else at the top of those 3. So that'll be interesting to see. So get your listener lank downs in. Or Derek will take your house.
Yes, exactly like that. No.
Yeah, Spotify comments, social media replies, DMs, wherever you want. We'll find them and we will get them submitted.
By Tuesday.
Night.
Or else. So I'll get into Ryan's rank down here. I had some shifting around. I'm going to move Devins all the way up to number 1. I don't think he's going to win. I think he's a dead man walking. I think after that move in front of the jury, though, I think you got to give him the win. So I think if Devins can get to the end, which he won't, I think he'll win. After that, Sari, Ozzy, Aubrey, Rizzo. I had Rizzo falling a little bit here. I'm waiting for him to do something. Tiffany, and then my bottom 3. A little shift, Emily, Jonathan, and Joe. I think it's the snippiness from Jonathan. I think he's pissing off a lot of the women, is what I'm seeing. He's got to knock that crap off. So I'm going to put him below Emily now. I'll keep Emily in the can win, but barely. And so my 2 who cannot win are Jonathan and Joe.
Well, much like Ryan, I am moving Devins all the way back up to the top. What a yo-yo this has been. The reason being is if Devin sits in the final 3 now, you can't say that he was playing under the radar. You can't say he wasn't playing his own game. You can't say he didn't leave his mark. And you know what? Even if he doesn't score 100% on the test, me oh my, everyone is going to remember they had class with him. And I think that's the kind of person who could win a season 50 final 3 situation, even if you're sitting next to a legend like Sari. I think that's the kind of thing that it takes, and with the Beast Coin move tonight, I think he's there. With that, number 2 is Sari, because she's Sari. And then I have Rizzo, Ozzy, Aubrey. I am not sold on my next 3 at all. So I'll just go ahead and spoil that Joe is in my bottom spot, but I have, after Aubrey, Tiffany, Emily, and Jonathan. I didn't even think about the fact that Jonathan is maybe frustrating some of the women on the season, but you're absolutely right. But I had just moved him down anyway because I did not like how he was getting snippy, and I also felt like he's burning some bridges with some people that would have otherwise voted for him, and now all of a sudden he doesn't really have a way to get to the end without having someone there that those people would rather vote for. I know there's 9 people left, but like Aubrey said, it feels like there's like 6 people left. So I'm not sold on Tiffany, Emily, and Jonathan here, but that is my order.
All right, it's time for mine. We're going to switch it up a little bit from you guys. I am going to keep Suri at the top in the number 1 spot. You guys make some pretty good arguments, though. Devins is surging, and he's going to be all the way back up to my number 2 spot. Now, if the game ended today, I do think that he beats everyone else other than Suri. And honestly, you guys have convinced me enough that it's a toss-up, at least. I'm not going to change my rank downs, but you at least convinced me that it's a toss-up between the two of them. And then after that, I'm going to keep Rizzo after him in spot number 3, followed by Ozzy. I have Tiffany moving ahead of Emily from last week. And then after Emily, my bottom 3, and this were a little bit different than you guys, I'm going to have Jonathan, then Aubrey, and then Joe. I have Aubrey in can't win now. The only reason is because I think Jonathan is going to have a lot of support on the jury because of who's currently there. And I think that, there's going to be a lot of, oh, Jonathan's making these moves. Jonathan's doing this. Jonathan's doing that. And I think that that's going to have at least a little bit of, it's going to have something of value. And I don't think Aubrey really has anything that she can really pitch for her game. I'm not saying that Jonathan has a good game. I had him in can't win territory for a hot minute there. So this is not, me beating the drum for Jonathan. It's more so just that, like, him having people on the jury combined with, not seeing much from Aubrey. So yeah, Jonathan, then Aubrey, then Joe.
I think having Jonathan above Aubrey is actually certifiably insane.
I don't mind Josh's list, but I do have to ask him about one person. Emily, why?
She's 4th from the bottom.
She's played the same game as Aubrey, but worse. I don't understand.
She's been more present in my eyes.
Sure.
And for 2 people who I don't think are going to win this game, and the presence, I think, at least shows me right now that could be something that's rewarded for season 50. Social game gets you so far. We talked about that last week in this conversation. I think that works really well for someone like Suri. But when you're tossing out names like Aubrey and Emily, I don't think that that's a good enough reason for people to give you that vote.
I need to call this out. I feel like there's a chance we got a little bit of an Aubrey winner edit tonight.
I know. I was going to say that.
Particularly with her confessional about, like, I thought I should have won Korong, but I'm going to take a few pages out of Michelle's book here. Which, by the way, Aubrey, maybe don't say you felt you should have won Korong. Like, that's a bad look on TV. But, like, the total context of what you said, I think, is, like, well intended. Like, I had a few things that I could learn. That is the kind of confessional you get mid-season if you're going to make a surge to the end.
Let's say if Emily had gone home tonight and I had to make a new winner pick, I would have picked Aubrey tonight.
These are jank downs for right now in this game. Aubrey can still win the game, but she's going to have to make those moves that she talked about in this episode. And we haven't seen that yet. Okay. So that is why they lay out as this right now. I will also shout out one other person who I think is a dark horse to win this season. She went up one in my rankings, and that's Tiffany. Okay. I think that Tiffany is next in line after that big 4 at the top. And I think she has a serious chance to win.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll clip that for later if I'm right.
All right.
Clip.
Last thing we got to check in is the survivor pool. So, Josh, take the floor.
Yes, the survivor pool. And what a great time it is to be me and not you guys. So last week, I had picked Ozzy. Ozzy, in danger for a little bit there, but he ended up being safe this week. So I'm going to be moving on. Unfortunately, I still had Stephanie as someone I could have picked. So I lose out on her, but we'll get to that in just a minute. We do have some listeners who are on their way to the graveyard, on their way to Ghost Island. So shout out to Rachel on Spotify. She picked Stephanie. Shout out to Megan on Spotify. Did not get a pick in, unfortunately, this time around. Make it so far, just not to get a pick in. Shout out to Pau on Spotify, picking Stephanie. Jake Blaze for picking Stephanie. And then Meg Fox on Spotify did not technically get a pick in. I followed up because they actually picked Jonathan 2 weeks in a row. And gave it a shot to see if they could get an actual pick in, but nope, didn't get anything. So they are officially out. And then finally, Micah on Twitter also did not get a pick in. So there's a few that dropped out just because they couldn't get him in. But that's the name of the game.
That's okay.
So thank you for playing.
So how many people are we down to?
11, 12, 13, 14 people still.
With you?
Plus me.
So 15 people
15
left in
total.
the competition. All right.
Yep.
So I'm rooting for the other 14.
And I did look a little bit at people, and there's some people who have a couple extra names than others, and there's a couple who are on their last leg. So good luck to you. You know who you are. You still have to get your pick in though. So make sure you go out and do that right now.
Okay. Well, Josh, who are you picking?
Yeah. So like I said, I had Stephanie sitting there. She can no longer be used. Rest in peace. Which leaves two people, Tiffany and Joe. I'm picking Tiffany. She's more likely to go home this week, but I think Joe is on a fast track to third place. So I'm going to leave him as long as I possibly can. So I'm going Tiffany.
If Joe gets third place 2 seasons in a row, that'll be pretty funny.
That is pretty funny.
Okay, so we'll see what happens. I'm rooting against you, though, heavily. So let's have Tiffany go home next.
Poor Tiffany.
Actually, not really. I don't even mean that. There's other people I'd much rather see leave. All right. Well, yeah, get those picks in. And then I believe we just had the one question this week.
Yeah, we actually have two questions. One, I want you to confirm on the podcast for this person. So RT Jeff said, was that a Jimmy Fallon joke? One from a Red Letter Media video?
Yes. I'm so happy someone caught that. Yes, that was 100% stolen from Mike from Red Letter Media. Red Letter Media is actually my favorite YouTube channel if we're talking about YouTube tonight. They're my faves. So that's hilarious. I'm glad somebody else picked up on that. But yes, that was a Red Letter Media Mike joke.
Is Red Letter Media the YouTube channel that does like Half in the Bag?
Half in the Bag and Best of the Worst, yeah.
Yep.
They watch bad movies and I love bad movies.
What is that guy's laugh?
Oh, Rich Evans, the angelic laugh of Rich Evans.
So I had to bring that one up. Thanks for that shout out. Those are always fun when people get just the little one-off jokes that we make.
Yep.
We get those from time to time. And then from Cyans, the question is, in last week's episode, we heard two people foreshadowing Final Tribal, Jonathan and Sari. How do you think the legend factor will impact the jury's votes? Kind of ironic since we talked about that a little bit here today. With all other factors being equal, would someone like Ozzy, who is on his last chance, get more votes than a Rizzo, who is fresh to the game?
It's certainly possible, especially with someone like Rizzo. If I was on the jury, I'd be like, man, wouldn't it be cool if Sari won? So I think the players who are more super fanny, like a Rizzo, it might have an impact on him. So maybe if Rizzo's on the jury, it could impact his vote. So I think it's certainly possible. It's something I wouldn't discount.
I think juxtaposing Rizzo to Ozzy, given that they're in the same, like Sari's on a pedestal above, right? And like I have Devins above her because he's made so much noise in this game. So to answer her question about the legend factor playing in, you need to do something like Devins if you're going to outshine someone like Sari in a final tribal council, because Sari just getting there is just a complete feat on its own. It stands by itself. Rizzo and Ozzy, that is a very fascinating combination. Like if it's them and Joe at Final Tribal Council, I do think that the legend factor for Ozzy plays in because there are enough people who have been around and there are enough super fans of the show that because Rizzo and Ozzy essentially played the same game, which is get gifted an idol, hold on to it all season, and work with Sari and take her out at a certain point, like... Yes, Ozzy's going to win that because it's going to be Ozzy seen as using Rizzo and not the other way around, even if I do believe that Rizzo has gotten more of the strategic chops to him than Ozzy does. So that's my answer. I think Ozzy would beat Rizzo in a surprise Final Two situation, even if I have him higher in my dank down. But that's just because I do think the legend status would rise him above.
Yeah, and I think Ozzy's really the only one who this applies to right now, since Sari's at the top or, a toss-up with anyone else in this game at the very worst. And then everyone else left in the game, it isn't a legend.
Yep.
So this is really just an Ozzy conversation, and we all kind of agree that Ozzy is near the top, and really the only person above him is Rizzo. So I think that this listener poses the perfect scenario, and I think it would be fascinating. But I do agree. I think that this could tilt Ozzy just because of the legend status. And if it is just 1 or 2 votes, that could be enough.
Yeah, for sure. Great question. Thank you for putting them in. Any questions you guys have, get your dank downs in, but send everything in, anything and everything, especially positive comments. That's the good stuff.
Yeah, shout out to I don't have the name in front of me, but also shout out to the person who shouted us out on Reddit as being a recommended strategy focused podcast. It's always cool to kind of see those randomly come up organically as we're just browsing around the interweb. So thank you.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate it, and it helps bring in more listeners and just helps grow this thing to hopefully Mr. Beast levels. Hopefully. We can have our own Castaway Consultants games where we give out millions of dollars, hopefully.
Step 1, Red Letter Media. Step 2, Beast Games.
Step 3, profit. All right, guys. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, this has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.